The Friday dungeon is finally here, and trust me, this one is unlike any other you have seen. Instead of hacking through monsters, Jin-Woo has to rely on raw speed, perfect timing, and precision movement to survive. The countdown hits 0, and he instantly calls on the Wind Falcon for a massive speed buff, blasting off like a bullet. Projectiles rain down from every single angle, but Jin-Woo doesn't lose a second of momentum as he weaves through the chaos. He used to clear this stage on a screen, but running it for real? The thrill of the chase is 10 times better. Just when it looks like he is following the standard route, pay attention, he is about to reveal a secret shortcut. He dives into the water with a summoned dolphin, slips under the traps, then mounts a wyvern to soar over the finish. In the blink of an eye, Jin-Woo crosses the line, proving once again that he is truly in a league of his own. How is he this good? Well, for 10 long years, Baek Jin-Woo lived and breathed one game Battle of Summoners. Everyone else called it a trash game, but he turned it into his personal kingdom as the legendary player known as Ginugod. After finally clearing the impossible 100th floor, he decided it was time to retire and live a normal, quiet life. But the very second he claimed victory, his entire world turned upside down. A massive screen filled the sky, summoning scrolls rained down, and terrifying monsters began crawling out of the shadows. Before Jin-Woo could even process the horror, he was struck by Trun and lost consciousness instantly. When he finally woke up, 3 years had passed, and the game he loved had become a brutal reality. Summons now roam the earth, and the entire world is hunting for the mysterious man who cleared the final floor. Now, Jin-Woo has only one path forward: rise to the top and become the strongest in this chaotic new world. Once he is out of the hospital, he heads home to start researching how this new society actually functions. Every system from the game is now real player versus player duels, raids, and dungeons are everywhere. 3 years in, and humanity has mostly adapted to living side by side with these summoned creatures. Even with the world changing, Jin-Woo is confident that nobody can match his expertise. Just then, he is prompted to open his cube inventory, and the moment he accepts, the tutorial finally kicks off. He heads straight for a deserted area because he has no idea what might pop out of his first summon. As a reward for completing the tutorial, he receives 2 low-grade summoning scrolls to get him started. A warning flashes that he should definitely use these scrolls outside, where there is plenty of space. Holding the scrolls in his hands, Jin-Woo finally has to admit that his life will never be the same. He can only pray for something decent if he starts with total trash. His journey is basically over before it begins. But he is nervous, because anyone who played the game knows just how brutal the drop rates can be. There is a tiny 1% chance of drawing a D rank, and a 5% chance for E rank, while F rank trash makes up the bulk 94%. Before tearing the scroll, Jin-Woo starts begging every single god he knows, desperately hoping for a pull that is actually good. In fact, he is even willing to take a lowly E rank summon as long as it has some use. He tears the paper, holding his breath as he waits to see what fate has in store for him. Suddenly, a blinding light hits the ground. Let's see what kind of partner he just pulled. A Wind Fairy emerges, but her rank is listed as X. Jin-Woo is baffled because that rank never even existed. The fairy looks around, totally lost, until her eyes finally land on Jin-Woo standing right in front of her. She starts panicking, realizing she has actually been pulled into the real world through a summoning. Jin-Woo is just as shocked to hear a summon speaking, but he manages to ask if she is Ramba. The fairy stops cold. Only one person ever called her that, and that was the legendary Ginugod. Realization hits her like a truck. She lunges forward, hugging Jin-Woo tight while crying about how much she missed him. It all comes back to him. This was the E-rank fairy he pulled way back when he first started. If you master her hidden mechanics and the right runes, she becomes a god-tier unit that boosts attack speed through the roof. Since they spent so much time adventuring together, Jin-Woo had eventually given her that cute nickname. But he remembers, she was deleted from the game during a massive bug patch within the first year. The developers claimed she was a balance-breaking exploit and deleted her, leaving Jin-Woo furious after spending an entire year training the little fairy. He checks her status now and sees she was listed as being in quarantine, which makes absolutely no sense. With tears welling up in her eyes, Ramba explains she was suddenly dragged into a strange void and locked away. And trust me, this is where our mystery truly begins to unfold. Stick with me, you are about to see a girl hold Jin-Woo's hand, begging him to never leave her side. He asks who locked her away, but her memories of that person have been completely erased. Her head throbbed in pain as he realized a mental seal was actually blocking her memory. He asks for any detail, but she was stuck in quarantine and remembers absolutely nothing else. From her words, Jin-Woo realizes that she was not the only one being held there. He asks her if there are other summons like her who are currently locked up. She confirms it, but lets him know she doesn't know them personally since they are not all locked in the same room, only figuring out that they are around 10 in number. Suddenly, it hits him she is talking about the 10 summons that vanished as bugs during his game. Ramba explains that they might finally escape that place whenever Jin-Woo tears a summoning scroll. She had not felt the call of a low-grade summoning scroll for a long time until he used it. This confirms his suspicion that only he has the power to pull powerful X-rank units. He wonders if this is his reward for clearing the 100th floor of the Tower of Trials. Hoping for another legend, he tears a second scroll but only gets an F-rank hairy gorilla. It is a total disappointment, but it proves the X-rank drop rate is completely random. Jin-Woo is pissed at this trash game, and he concludes he just has to tear as many scrolls as possible to pull X ranks. He believes that if he can obtain every X rank, he will be stronger than ever before. Jin-Woo then tells Ramba to stop calling him a god and just use his name. Since he was gone for 3 years, the 5 emperors have made his name famous across the world. He is unsure of the power gap now or what kind of disadvantages he might be facing. If people find out he controls X ranks, he will just become a target for their envy. Now pay attention, because the ground suddenly shakes and a dungeon erupts before him. While the system announces it's finally time for the next phase, he hesitates at first, but then remembers he used to be the most powerful player in existence. Still, the game feels completely different now that it has actually become his reality. Calming himself, he realizes it's just a tutorial dungeon and steps inside to face this new world. Upon entering the dungeon, Jin-Woo immediately feels a heavy, eerie chill hanging in the air. The system says combat requires a team, but he only has Ramba and the hairy gorilla. It turns out that a full squad actually requires a total of 5 different summons. The system asks if he is ready to deploy his only 2 summons into the fight. Usually, you would want 5 members to survive, so going in like this seems very risky. I know what you're thinking, this is reckless, but Jin-Woo believes that the right strategy can conquer any dungeon. Besides, he has already cleared terrifying dungeons thousands of times in his past life. Since the entire walkthrough is already mapped out in his head, Jin-Woo accepts the challenge. Once he accepts, his enemy appears in the distance, a massive, starving gray wolf. He must kill it to escape, while a protective shield guards his body during the fight. He is impressed that the game's protection system was actually implemented here in the real world. However, he is warned that without that shield, a single attack will mean instant death. That is when it finally hits him. Failure means death, with 0 second chances to restart. With the wolf ready to pounce, Jin-Woo orders the gorilla to charge forward. But the gorilla moves like a slow turtle, leaving Jin-Woo feeling completely disappointed. He expected this trash tier speed, so he orders Ramba to buff the gorilla's attack speed. Ramba swings her staff, and the gorilla suddenly rushes in like a beast on drugs. Jin-Woo is impressed, but his hype dies fast when he realizes the wolf is way larger than he expected. Even so, he is living with the delusion that there is no way his gorilla could lose. He is calculating every variable, until the wolf suddenly pins his gorilla to the dirt. Jin-Woo screams for more power, and trust me, we are left on one hell of a cliffhanger. Alright, you and I are diving right back into this brutal fight. Ramba's boost kicks in again, giving the gorilla enough raw power to deck the wolf and throw it off. The beast crashes into the dirt, and Ramba doesn't waste a single second. She pours every ounce of her energy into maximizing the gorilla's speed and attack power. The gorilla lunges forward, unleashing a vicious flurry of punches to finish the wolf off for good. The wolf is pummeled into the earth, and the gorilla beats its chest in total victory. With the threat dead, Jin-Woo gets the notification that he cleared the dungeon. He finally breathes, celebrating his survival. Meanwhile, over at the association headquarters, we see Jin-Woo's sister, Ajin, withdrawing some cash. Now, stick with me, because since the world changed 3 years ago, Ajin has actually become a professional rune farming player. She makes a living selling runes to promising players. After Jin-Woo's accident, she decided it was time to become a player herself. By some crazy stroke of luck, she stumbled upon an intermediate summoner's grimoire inside a dungeon. From that book, she pulled a C-rank summon, and she honestly feels like she won the lottery. Thanks to her C-rank shadow elf, the money's been rolling in from farming runes. But then, she gets a sudden call from Jin-Woo. She asks if he's finally out of the hospital, but he tells her he's calling for a completely different reason. He tells her he learned from their father that she's selling runes, but Ajin screams at him for being vulgar. She prefers the term rune farmer. Jin-Woo quickly backtracks, calling it rune farming just to stay on her good side for a favor. He then asks her if she knows the synthesis center's location. She replies that it is located right in the player zone. Ever since the game became their reality, people needed a dedicated space to manage their summons. That's how these player zones were born. They have got synthesis centers, enhancement spots, and everything else a player needs, all built right around the mysterious tower. Ajin and Jin-Woo meet up at a cafe so she can give him the full breakdown. She explains that there are 2 massive towers that turned into towers of trials once the game became a reality. Jumpsel Tower and Hyundai Tower. Even though it varies by country, the Tower of Trials only manifested in those 2 specific spots. So, if he's looking for the player zones, he will find them right at the towers. As they talk, Ajin asks what rank his summons are. When he says E and F rank, she's actually shocked he's that lucky. Jin-Woo just laughs it off nervously, wanting to avoid a long, annoying conversation about his powers. He tells his sister he needs her help because he has got to adapt to this new world fast. Jin-Woo even promises to give her a little allowance once he's settled. Ah-jin is confused why he is acting so generous when she's the one making all the bank. Jin-Woo teases her, saying she should watch out because he might just become the world's #1 player. You and I both know he is dreaming, and Ah-jin agrees, telling him he will never reach the level of the 5 emperors. She explains that the 5 emperors are actual geniuses. People like them could never even hope to get there. Jin-Woo just smiles and asks her to lead the way. He really wants to see what this player zone is all about. On the way there, Ah-jin asks what he actually summoned, and he tells her it's a wind fairy. Ah-jin is completely baffled. She has never even heard of a wind fairy before in her life. She wants to see it, but Jin-Woo says no. Ah-jin calls him a total loser, yelling that it's not like the summon is going to break just by her looking at it. Jin-Woo agrees but makes her show her summon first. Ah-jin happily agrees, warning Jin-Woo not to die of pure jealousy when he sees her epic summon. Seeing her so confident makes Jin-Woo genuinely curious about what kind of hidden treasure she's got. When the light fades, her summon is revealed to be a C- rank shadow elf. Jin-Woo is clearly unimpressed, which totally pisses off his sister. She can't believe his lame reaction. She tells him that C-rank summons are basically high-tier nobility. He's got no right to disrespect her precious partner. But Jin-Woo is thinking back to the old days. He used to use shadow elves like this as mere fodder in the fusion lab. Jin-Woo asks if the elf can talk, but the question just makes him look like a complete idiot to both of them. He tries to say hello to the elf, but Ah-jin just scolds him, explaining that summons do not actually speak. He finally realizes Ramba's speech is extremely rare. Trust me, you and I are in for a wild ride. Alright. You and I are about to see Jin-Woo realize that his summons actually do not have a voice. He feels like a total idiot for assuming all humanoid summons could talk just because Ramba has a big mouth. Now Ah-jin wants a turn to see his secret summon, but Jin-Woo shuts her down and says later. Ah-jin totally crashes out and calls him out for breaking his promise, but Jin-Woo knows it would be way too risky to unveil his summons in public. They arrive at the player zone, and Jin-Woo is left in complete shock. This whole scenario is different from the area he remembers in his old memories. Ah-jin explains that corporations demolished the original tower after the Tower of Trials appeared. She berates her brother again, saying that nobody would want to visit such a gloomy scene. To her, the bright scene makes it look more like a land of thrills and adventure. In addition, a dungeon swallowed the tower, so no one would even come here for a vacation. But Jin-Woo is forced to admit this whole scenario is pretty exhilarating. Now pay attention here, as Jin-Woo spots an exchange scene and asks her all about it. Ah-jin tells him that players trade everything from powerful scrolls to runes. This brings back nostalgia, because he used to crack runes with his rich friend, Bishan. She shows him a pamphlet and suggests heading to the center if he needs a guide. But Jin-Woo says he is good because he has nothing left to learn. He plans to use every resource within his reach to get to the very top. Ah-jin asks if he is sure, and he confirms it before telling her she is free to leave. She agrees, but she can sense her brother has been acting like he was possessed. She concludes he is just trying to adapt, so she decides to stay out of his way. Still, she yells at him to call her if he needs help. Jin-Woo heads to a deserted area and summons Ramba, who immediately starts excitedly yapping until he has to firmly tell her to keep her voice down. Ramba asks what the issue is, and he says she cannot speak in public. Ramba almost loses it, but Jin-Woo explains that he does not want people noticing what she can actually do. He tells her from this point forward, she can only talk inside a dungeon. He makes her nod to show she understands, and she does exactly that without hesitation. Once they are on the same page, let's look at how he handles his current situation. He needs capital to start his life, but his current account balance does not do him justice. He wonders why his balance is so low, and the option of working a part-time job just does not fit his goals. He could ask his parents, but they already work way too hard to keep the family running. Jin-Woo knows he would be a parasite if he asked for a handout after everything they have done. Since he once started from zero, he is confident he can get it done again. He was the best back then because he was a legendary non-spender ranker. He earned every single thing he had without ever spending any actual cash on the game. Since he could do it in the game, he is determined to do the same in reality, but suddenly, he gets a notification that he received 500,000. This completely shocks him because he does not remember asking anyone for any money. Jin-Woo checks out the transaction history and realizes that the money actually came from his mother. Jin-Woo is completely overwhelmed when he sees this because he knows exactly how much his mother has sacrificed for him. With an emotional voice, he thanks her and promises to help the family make it big. Since the world has a 3-year lead, he cannot afford to waste a single second. Jin-Woo concludes that the way out is to run dungeons for growth materials, which means the first thing he absolutely needs to do is build a proper team. He immediately buys 3 low-grade summoning scrolls to pull something nice. His first pull is total trash, but eventually, he manages to snag a poison lizard that is an E rank. Since he pulled 2 E ranks in just 5 tries, he has officially beaten those 5% odds twice in a row. The poison lizard is actually useful, while the other 2 are just temporary filler to round out his current group. And that's where we leave it, trust me. You and I are about to see him go all out. Alright, you and I are about to see if Jin-Woo can actually pull off this impossible comeback. He knows that if he can collect all 10 of the X ranks, clearing this world will be a total breeze. With that goal in mind, finding those X ranks becomes his absolute top priority. He tries tracking down a dungeon the old-fashioned way, but reality hits differently than the game. He pulls up dungeon locations on his phone, and what he sees absolutely shocks the hell out of him. He is so stunned that he literally screams out like a dog, leaving everyone nearby thinking he has totally lost it. It turns out he can't even step inside a dungeon just because he has a summon. He checks the tutorial, and realizes dungeon gates are spawning randomly now, no matter where you are. You can still gauge a dungeon's difficulty by the energy output, but the official regulations have changed completely. No matter how easy the dungeon looks, he can only enter if he is officially registered as a player. Jin-Woo sits there in total despair, admitting he has the worst luck ever because he had to awaken right when the government changed the law. Seeing him so down, Ramba tries to cheer him up, and he pats her head, thanking her for having his back. Just then, his sister calls, asking when he is coming home because their mother is already worried sick about him. Jin-Woo tells her not to worry about his dinner, promising he has got everything under control. However, he has something he needs to ask his sister. He asks if she already knew that player registration was mandatory to enter a dungeon, and Ajin just stammers, unable to answer. Jin-Woo asks point blank if she was intentionally hiding the truth from him, but she insists she just forgot. It is a new regulation brought in because so many people were dying, forcing the government to finally take control. Now pay attention, because Ajin lets him know that the situation is actually way worse than he thinks. The government has stationed guards at every single dungeon entrance now, meaning you can't even get inside without getting official permission from the staff on site. Hearing this, Jin-Woo realizes he is in a serious bind, because based on his earlier research, just getting through the registration process is going to be incredibly stressful. He wonders if these restrictions were meant to stop the flood of players, since the social system would collapse if everyone just chased dungeon money. Ajin adds that there is an active ranking system now, tracking the top 100 players both locally and across the entire globe. To show how bad things are, Korea is not even ranked on the world stage right now. Ajin sighs, saying it would be amazing if a hero could just appear and turn everything around. Before she can say anything else that links him to his old gaming handle, he hangs up the phone. With everything ready to go, Jin-Woo decides it is best to just get some rest for the day. The next morning, at the crack of 6 a.m., Jin-Woo is already geared up and ready to head out. His parents are completely stunned to see him up and leaving the house this early. His mom begs him to eat first, but he refuses, saying he has to move. After putting on his shoes, he turns to them and apologizes for being a failure of a son for so long. He thanks them for everything they've done, and without another word, he heads out the door. His father is absolutely floored by the sudden change in him, while his mother just watches him go with worry. His dad tries to reassure her, saying Jin-Woo will be fine since the government handles all the safety training nowadays. The man then suggests they grab some food so they can get their own day started too. Now stick with me, because while his mother prays for him, Korea is struggling in this brand new era where everyone can become a player, drawing attention for its high mortality rate. It is all because of main character syndrome fueled by greed. People actually believed they were the chosen protagonists of some fantasy world. Because of that pure recklessness, countless people ended up dying inside those dungeons. And because of this, foreign media outlets have officially labeled the former gaming powerhouse as the absolute bottom of the rankings. Jin-Woo can't believe so many people died because of a simple delusion, though he knows he's not one to judge since he spent 10 years addicted to games himself. Later that afternoon, he arrives at the association to finally turn in his application to become an official player. Jin-Woo asks the attendant how many people actually manage to qualify as players these days. The lady tells him that out of the massive crowd, only 50 people who pass the grueling exam will earn the title. Hearing this, Jin-Woo realizes this won't be easy because there are currently over 1,000 people just like him waiting to file their applications. However, Jin-Woo still has total faith in his ability to be one of the qualified ones. And trust me, you and I are about to find out if the former king of the game still has what it takes. Stick with me, you and I are watching this simple application day turn into total war. Inside, we meet Park Chong-guk, a high-ranking assemblyman and qualification judge who is basically a very big deal. Chong-guk is busy complaining about the boring process when a wall suddenly explodes. Panic breaks out, and he immediately jumps up to see what is happening right now. A random thug storms in, bringing a terrifying red orc and a bunch of nasty monsters with him. Turns out, this guy wants bloody revenge against Chong-guk for taking out his brothers in the past. Seeing the chaos, Chong-guk pulls out his own summons, and they look ready to tear someone apart. The attacker belongs to a dangerous gang, But Jin-Woo is completely clueless because he still has his music blasting. A moment later, he turns around only to see Changuk and the crazy thug in a deadly standoff. Civilians are losing it, but some put their faith in Changuk, the legendary hero known for crushing gangs like bugs. Jin-Woo is genuinely shocked to see people using their summon powers just to act like common criminals. Changuk immediately orders the crowd to deploy shields and get their summons out because this is a major emergency. Ramba starts to open her mouth to yap, but Jin-Woo quickly shuts her up, reminding her that talking in public is forbidden. The thug then sends his orc forward, mocking Changuk and asking how long he thinks his defense will actually last. Meanwhile, Jin-Woo is just chilling behind a table. Trust me, you and I wouldn't want to get involved either. He knows it's a huge hassle, so he stays back to see how these guys actually handle themselves in a real fight. The orc charges at Changuk, but the judge stops him cold by unleashing a massive wave of fire. One of his summons is a fire specialist, but surprisingly, the orc walks through the flames completely untouched. It actually looks like the fire is making the orc stronger, and the gang member laughs, asking if that is his best. Changuk is starting to sweat, but it looks like Jin-Woo has already spotted a fatal flaw in the enemy's plan. The crowd is terrified because their hero, Changuk, is actually being pushed back by this red beast. Jin-Woo hesitates, wondering if he should step in or just avoid getting caught up in this messy street fight. While he debates, the orc keeps wrecking Changuk's summons, fueled by a rage that refuses to let him die just yet. Finally, Jin-Woo walks right up to Changuk and gives him a quick tap on the shoulder. Changuk tells him to back off because it's too dangerous, but Jin-Woo just whispers in his ear that the flame turtle's timing is a bit off. He tells him to keep note of the buffers hiding behind that red orc. Those buffers are casting a fire resistance spell, and Jin-Woo explains that no fire attack will ever work with that kind of timing. Now, here is where it gets good. Changuk is floored because he never realized the orc's red glow was just a buff. Taking the advice, Changuk orders his flame turtle to incinerate everything, including those sneaky buffers in the back. The strategy works perfectly, and the orc gets roasted alongside the rest of the gang's summons. The thug completely loses his cool, unable to believe that Changuk actually managed to figure out his little trick. In seconds, his monsters are gone, and his own protective shield is shattered into a million pieces. Knowing he's totally finished, the guy starts begging for mercy, promising to turn himself in to the police. But Changuk traps him with a tree summon and tells him to shut it, reminding him that gang members get executed on sight with no exceptions. Tears stream down the thug's face as the life is literally crushed out of him. Blood sprays everywhere, and the people in the room celebrate Changuk's brutal and final victory. Jin-Woo is actually a bit shaken by the whole sight because, even though the guy was a criminal, seeing him killed so brutally feels incredibly wrong. He realizes the world has truly changed, and if he wants to survive, he's going to need some serious resolve to keep moving forward. Right then, Changuk walks over to Jin-Woo to thank him for the assistance. Jin-Woo plays it off as nothing, but Changuk insists on giving him a reward and asks which high-level guild he actually belongs to. Jin-Woo admits he isn't even a registered player yet, which means he doesn't have a guild at all. Changuk is completely stunned that an unregistered kid like him could spot a high-level buff that even a professional judge missed entirely. Changuk asks for his identification card, and Jin-Woo simply hands it over without saying a single word right then. Changuk promises that once the background check is done, a reward will be sent out according to the official rules. And that is where we leave it, trust me. You and I know this judge is about to uncover the truth through that phone call. You and I are back as Jin-Woo rewards Ramba with a massive donut for being such a good girl. Right around that same time, Jin-Woo is just hoping things don't get too crazy. He never actually wanted the spotlight, but let's be real, everyone in that room would be dead if he hadn't shared his expert tips. Looking at how dangerous the world is becoming, Jin-Woo realizes he needs to gather summoning scrolls and call out his next X-Rank beast as soon as he can. Right now, his top priorities are the Blast Dragon Mage and those drill instructors. They are only D-rank and E-rank summons from low-grade scrolls. The next day, Changuk discovers that Jin-Woo was actually hospitalized for 3 years after a serious accident, and that is when it finally clicks why Jin-Woo is currently an unregistered player. Changuk doesn't find this suspicious at all, since accidents were everywhere when the chaos first started. But he's even more shocked to learn that Jin-Woo applied for his player registration the second he was discharged. Changuk pulls up Jin-Woo's file and realizes his assistant wasn't lying about any of it. He's so completely stunned by this discovery that he totally forgets he's standing in the middle of the street. Changuk immediately decides he's going to step in as one of the judges for this month's evaluation. He knows that Jin-Woo registering the moment he woke up proves just how incredibly adaptable the guy is. Changuk is hyped because he might have found a hidden gem. Now, pay attention, it's training day, and Jin-Woo arrives to find a massive crowd, just like the day he first registered. It hits Jin-Woo that he has to absolutely crush all this competition if he wants a real shot at becoming a player. But still, He isn't worried for a second because this is basically child's play for a guy who knows the game better than anyone. Moments later, the program begins, and Jin-Woo is stunned to see Changuk standing there as the official judge. Soon after, Changuk calls him in for a private chat, and Jin-Woo admits he's shocked to see him as a judge, since it was the last thing he expected. Changuk just teases him, saying maybe it's just fate. Then, he asks Jin-Woo what he really thinks about the training program. Jin-Woo pauses before answering because everything they taught in the lecture was stuff he already knew by heart. Truth is, one of those top-tier strategies was actually created by Jin-Woo himself. Jin-Woo finally tells Changuk the training wasn't that bad, but deep down, he's actually pretty annoyed. Changuk then mentions he called him in to discuss the compensation they talked about during their last meeting. But before that, Changuk has one question. He wants to know if Jin-Woo was ever a serious gamer. Jin-Woo is confused, so Changuk explains that gamers are people who played the game before it turned into their reality. Basically, anyone who played even a little bit gets that title. In fact, 70% of Korea's top rankers were originally gamers. Jin-Woo realizes why Changuk is asking. There is no way a random person would know about specific summon buffs. Jin-Woo admits he played the game a little, and Changuk celebrates, feeling like his sharp intuition was right on the money. He asks Jin-Woo exactly how long he played for, and Jin-Woo has to think fast before giving an answer. Here's the catch. Jin-Woo knows this game was a total disaster with barely any players. If he admits he played for 10 years, everyone will know he's the legendary Ginugod. Jin-Woo decided to tweak his answer, telling him he only played for about a year. Even then, Changuk is still incredibly impressed. Jin-Woo wonders if he's said too much, but Changuk keeps praising him for sticking with it that long. Jin-Woo just shrugs it off as nothing special, but Changuk doesn't care. He knows most Korean rankers couldn't even last 6 months, yet Jin-Woo stayed strong for a full year. Changuk clears his throat and presents 2 different options for his reward, letting Jin-Woo choose whichever he likes best. The first choice is using his authority to instantly register him as a player and secure him a comfy job at headquarters. Changuk is pitching this with all the energy in the world, but Jin-Woo doesn't look interested at all. The second option is just $5 million in prize money. Both options sound pretty mid to Jin-Woo, but Changuk truly believes he's offering the best deals possible. Changuk expects him to jump at the registration, but Jin-Woo stuns him by choosing the cold hard cash instead. Changuk literally cannot believe what he's hearing, and he tries to warn Jin-Woo that normal registration takes forever, but Jin-Woo insists he'd rather take the long way. Jin-Woo stands up, telling Changuk he can handle the registration himself and has zero interest in a corporate headquarters job. And trust me, you and I know he's right. A desk job is just a waste of time when he still has to track down all his elite rank summons. Alright, you and I are about to watch Jin-Woo turn this exam legendary. The official keeps it simple. Just clear the daily dungeon and the pass is yours. He is entering the Tuesday dungeon, where speed is everything. It is a time attack to the finish line. Surprisingly, Changok is there in person to watch. He never expected someone to refuse his offer, so he has to see this. He has realized Jin-Woo understands runes and summons better than anyone. His tactical insights made even elite professors look like absolute beginners who know nothing. This is the moment Changok realizes that Jin-Woo is a talent you never let go. Changok bites his finger in regret. Pay attention here, he knows he messed up. Once the official finishes the briefing, they give Jin-Woo the green light to enter the gate. As he steps inside, the system flashes a notification. His mission is to eradicate the slimes that have completely overrun the area. Jin-Woo summons Ramba and gives the signal. She just nods, letting him know she has got this under control. Ramba buffs the gorilla, boosting its attack and speed to the max. The Tuesday dungeon is basically a giant maze. You are supposed to grind through slimes until you reach the boss. It is a massive time sink where most beginners get hopelessly lost. But Jin-Woo is no rookie. He knows exactly which slow slimes he needs to ignore. He has conquered this dungeon so many times in the past that he is actually bored of the layout. Jin-Woo sprints straight into the deepest zone. There it is, the dungeon boss, a massive, wobbling king slime. He orders the gorilla to engage. The beast lunges forward, ready to tear that slime apart. It slams down both fists, crushing the boss. You and I see Jin-Woo watching like a proud dad because he loves Ramba's power. Ramba's attack boost is just unfair. It makes even an F-rank summon look completely broken. As the gorilla pounds the boss into a puddle, Jin-Woo wonders how this buff would work on his other summons. With the king slime dead, the system sends a congratulatory message, confirming the boss has been cleared. He finished in 5 minutes, but he is not even impressed. Back in the day, it only took him 1 minute. Suddenly, a notification pops up. He just shattered the South Korean record. That insane run earned him a special achievement. For rewards, he gets 3 high-grade summoning scrolls and 2 low-grade abrasives to power up his gear. Jin-Woo is in total shock. He didn't even know a world record for this dungeon actually existed. Behind the scenes, the monitoring officials are losing their minds. they just saw the official rankings change in a total heartbeat. The officials are absolutely stunned because the previous record just got completely demolished. They are even more confused when they see the name. Who the heck is this Jin-Woo guy? The fact that a non-ranker just smashed the record makes the news even crazier. Changok hears the report immediately. Changok realizes Jin-Woo is a national-level talent. They have to do whatever it takes to secure him. They absolutely cannot lose Jin-Woo to another country. South Korea's entire reputation on the global stage is now on the line. Changok orders his subordinates to register Jin-Woo immediately. No more delays. These time attack rankings are split into domestic and global leaderboards. The top ranker in Korea was a guy named Kang, who held a record of 6 minutes. The world record holder is Rachel at only 2 minutes. But domestically, Jin-Woo has already completely shattered Kang's old record. Changok tells his team that Jin-Woo deserves special privileges. Just then, our hero steps out of the dungeon. He's actually totally disappointed. He just can't believe 5 minutes is considered top tier in this current era. Right on cue, Changok comes sprinting toward him, shouting that he has been dying to meet him again. Changok tells him the record was incredible, then asks how he pulled it off on his very first try. Jin-Woo gives a nervous, vague answer. Truth is, that 5-minute run was not even close to his best. Changok hands over a player's license, explaining that he has been specially registered because he has finally proven his absolute worth. Jin-Woo is staring at his new license when Changok asks him one more time how he did it. Jin-Woo realizes that if he actually spills his secrets, South Korea's power level would skyrocket overnight. But the aftermath is the real problem. He might get lucky and end up with wealth and fame. On the other hand, some villains might kidnap him and torture every bit of information out of his body. Jin-Woo tells him the question is rude. We'll see what's next. All right. You and I are about to see if our main character can outsmart the entire government. Chongguk explains that South Korea is absolutely desperate to have a hunter like him on the team. Jin-Woo figures the guy is decent enough, he paid up fast, and seems pretty reasonable on top of that. Plus, the guy is sharp. Jin-Woo realizes he could actually use the nation's resources for himself instead. Soloing is fine, but moving with the government means he'll level up way faster than he ever could alone. They head to a cafe to talk privately, where Chang officially asks the young hunter for his help. But things get tense when Chang reveals they know he was bedridden for 3 whole years. Chang apologizes quickly, explaining that unregistered high-level players are considered a massive public risk. Jin-Woo demands to know if the spying stops now, warning him never to try that again. Chang agrees, but on the inside, he is actually stunned by the kid's nerves. Most people would be shaking in their boots at the mention of the government, not Jin-Woo. Realizing Jin-Woo knows his own value, he asks what he'll actually get in return. Chang admits he just wants his cooperation. It is all about politics. Chang explains that more successful players under his wing means more votes and much more power at headquarters. Watch Jin-Woo realizes he is just dealing with a typical politician. Chang promises to throw the full weight of his authority behind the young hunter to support him. Jin-Woo isn't impressed by the vague offer, so he decides to flip the script entirely. The deal is simple. 1 month of total government support while Jin-Woo focuses solely on growing stronger. If he is satisfied with his progress after a month, they keep going. If not, he'll repay every cent the government spent on him. Chang realizes he is basically being hired as a high-end secretary, but he doesn't even care. He takes the deal, knowing that staying close to Jin-Woo is a winning move for his own future. Deal closed. Now, Jin-Woo warns the official not to tell a single soul about him breaking that record, purely for his own safety. Chong Swook almost argues that headquarters can protect him, but he stops himself just in time. Honestly, the higher-ups can barely handle local gangs, let alone protecting a high-value asset like him. Since Jin-Woo clearly knows the score, Chang promises to keep the news under wraps as best as he can. However, he warns he can't stop every rumor from spreading. But Jin-Woo is surprisingly okay with the news leaking out. Satisfied with the privacy and the perks, our main character finally makes his exit. Time to check the loot. 3 high-grade summoning scrolls and 2 low-grade polishing agents? Not a bad haul. Even though someone else held the record, the system still gives out individual achievement rewards to every player. Basically, every player can claim these special rewards once for themselves. He thinks about using the high-grade scrolls, but selling them for cold, hard cash sounds a lot better. He remembers the Player Web, the exclusive online market for registered players that Chongguk helped him set up. It is basically an online marketplace for hunters to trade loot. After logging in, Jin-Woo immediately checks the going rate for those high-grade scrolls. I know what you're thinking. 3 million won? Yeah, my jaw dropped too. He can't believe he made that much money after only 5 minutes inside a dungeon. At this rate, he will be giving his family the luxury life in no time at all. He decides to sell the expensive scrolls to buy a mountain of low-grade ones, because broken X-rank summons can be pulled from them. Those X-rank cheats are way more powerful than any B-grade summon he would get from the advanced scrolls. Jin-Woo notices low-grade scrolls stay at exactly 5,001, despite being incredibly common. With way more sellers than buyers, the price should be dropping, but it's staying totally flat. He calls up Ajin, who explains that the government is actually the one buying them all up. Apparently, it is a policy designed to provide financial support to the top-ranked players in the country. The state uses national funds to buy them in bulk at a fixed 5,001 price, meaning nobody ever has to sell for less. There is literally no reason for anyone to lower their prices when the government is buying everything. Ajin warns that the policy might end soon, since the government stockpile is getting way too big. But honestly, you and I know our hero is just getting started. Alright, you and I are about to see Jin-Woo pull off another genius move as he thanks Ajin and hangs up. Since he knows the big shots have way too many low-grade summoning scrolls, Jin-Woo pays Changok a visit. As usual, Changok is absolutely thrilled to see him, which honestly makes our main character a little flustered. He gets straight to the point and asks for help, specifically looking to get his hands on some low-grade scrolls. Changok is shocked he wants low-grade junk instead of advanced tiers, but Jin-Woo just tells him he needs as many as possible. Changok tries to stay calm, but this request definitely makes him uneasy. Still, the headquarters gets 50,000 of these daily, so he agrees, but warns Jin-Woo about the rules against reselling. But Jin-Woo clears the air quickly. He's not selling them. He's planning on using every single one himself. Now, pay attention here, because Changok knows Jin-Woo isn't just some random gamer, he's clearly cooking something big. He figures if Jin-Woo is hoarding this many low-grade scrolls, the upcoming payoff has to be absolutely spectacular. But there's a catch: if Jin-Woo wants the goods, he has to trade over some seriously useful information. Changok explains his job is serving the people, and using resources without a good reason might make him lose their trust and his position. He tells Jin-Woo that trading the scrolls for intel is a win-win that keeps everyone's hands clean. Jin-Woo isn't even surprised that Changok won't just hand them over for free, and he doesn't mind the deal because it proves his information is worth way more than some basic scrolls. Jin-Woo agrees to the trade and spills the beans on the achievement-breaking rewards. He explains that the National Achievement Reward actually gives out 3 advanced summoning scrolls per dungeon. And here's the kicker: another player can snag those same rewards just by beating the previous record time. So, if players take turns breaking records like a relay race, they can squeeze out the maximum rewards in record time. This would also skyrocket the country's rankings, though Changok notes their top players have tried this before. Still, he realizes it can be done many more times since plenty of other players haven't claimed their rewards yet. When Jin-Woo suggests this for the Tuesday dungeon, Changok's eyes light up, thinking this was Jin-Woo's secret for breaking the record. In reality, Jin-Woo knows that's not what he used at all, but he keeps his mouth shut to make sure Changok doesn't start suspecting his true power. You and I can see he's playing it smart, telling Changok that anyone using this method can clear the dungeon in under 3 minutes. Changok is stunned, but before he can dig for more details, Jin-Woo demands payment for the first tip and asks for 50 high-grade scrolls for any more answers. Changok nearly has a heart attack because 50 high-grade scrolls are worth about 150 million won. Noticing him hesitate, Jin-Woo decides to throw in one more little teaser to seal the deal. He tells Changok that this method works for both low-tier and the absolute highest-tier dungeons. He adds that the rewards from those high tiers are worth tens of billions, and Changok realizes the kid is right. Compared to that massive payout, the price Jin-Woo is asking for is actually a total bargain. So, he agrees to transfer the cash once they verify the intel and promises 10,000 low-grade scrolls every day. Jin-Woo just gives him a confident smile and promises he won't regret this decision. Later that day, Changok rounds up the team for a late-night test, leaving everyone wondering why they're working overtime. Changok tells the group he has something incredibly important for them to try out right now. The team gets hyped because Changok never calls a meeting for no reason, and he mentions the Tuesday dungeon record was just crushed. But he lies to them, claiming he got the strategy from an overseas source to keep things quiet. He claims he tested it on Jin-Woo with great results, which is why he wants the rest of the team to jump in. It was all just a cover story to protect Jin-Woo's privacy, just like he promised earlier. The team buys it immediately, figuring that's why they were told to keep Jin-Woo's name out of their mouths. Changok then announces they're all doing a Tuesday dungeon time attack to put the strategy to the test. But when he reveals the secret weapon is a modeled Komodo, the whole team starts having second thoughts. See, the modeled Komodo is basically just a weak lizard roughly the size of a grown man. The Komodo is sturdy with decent power, but this B-grade summon is notoriously hard to raise. You and I are about to see if his plan actually works. You and I are about to see how a trash-tier summon flips the entire game. Usually, the modeled Komodo is considered nothing but a total summoning failure. However, what most users don't know is that the modeled Komodo loves feasting on giant slimes. Releasing them in the dungeon can clear the entire place as fast as it hunts its favorite snacks. Once Changok explains the plan, the group starts taking turns running the dungeon. They're absolutely losing it because, thanks to the Komodo's appetite, they manage to reach the boss room in under 4 minutes. That is some serious speed for any group. With this new strategy in play, everyone thinks South Korea finally has a shot at the world record as long as they optimize their speed using runes. The summon everyone used to laugh at is now the team's personal favorite. A few days later, South Korea starts smashing record after record, and Jungkook gets all the credit for the success. After reading the article, Jungkook decides to stick to Jin-Woo like glue because he's a guaranteed win for success, even if he is just a first-year gamer. Because of this, he forms a dedicated talent management team just for Jin-Woo, picking Ja, Byungjin, and Taesop to handle every little detail of the rookie's career. Jin-Woo finally gets his promised 150 million won, stunned that making money is this easy. Meanwhile, Ramba is just staring at the cash, calculating exactly how many cream buns that much money buys. Next, Jin-Woo checks his inventory and finds his 10,000 low-grade summoning scrolls waiting for him. Since Jungkook kept his word, Jin-Woo decides it's time to step up and become a top player. First, he pours water on the ground, while Ramba prays to every god out there, wishing for Jin-Woo to pull a legendary X-Rank summon. This is the same summoning ritual they used to do together back in his Ginugod days. Ritual complete. Jin-Woo is feeling pumped as he starts tearing through the scrolls. Unfortunately, after what feels like forever, Jin-Woo and Ramba collapse from exhaustion after opening over 3,000 scrolls in an hour with absolutely nothing to show for their hard work. Jin-Woo groans, wondering how thousands of scrolls only gave him a pile of useless F-grade trash. Ramba pulls his ear and calls him a dummy for thinking an X-rank would be that easy. But Jin-Woo argues back, reminding her that she appeared on his very first try. Ramba explains that her case was just pure luck, not a certainty. You might need 10,000 or even 100,000 low-grade scrolls just to pull one X-rank summon. Jin-Woo is totally lost and asks her what she means by that. Realizing her master is clueless about the summoning system, Ramba decides it's time you and I watch her school him properly. She explains that common summons are everywhere, like 800 million horned caterpillars for every 8 billion people. She adds that although most summons are a dime a dozen, X-grades are classified as isolated, meaning there is only ever one of each in existence. Jin-Woo is shocked and asks why, but even Ramba doesn't know what makes them so special. Still, she's certain that Jin-Woo is the only one who can actually summon them. As the weight of the math finally sinks in, Jin-Woo starts to panic internally. Since there are tens of thousands of different types, the probability of him pulling an X-grade is so small it's basically impossible for a normal human. Jin-Woo collapses, realizing you and I know he's got a better chance of winning the lottery several times in a row than pulling this off soon. Still, Ramba tries to console him, explaining that once a summon is pulled, it won't appear again unless it's sold back. Basically, if all 800 million horned caterpillars are summoned, they'll never show up in a scroll ever again. Jin-Woo still feels like the difficulty level is just too much to handle. He thinks about mid-grade scrolls, but realizes their low efficiency makes them a bad deal. They're expensive and hard to find on the market, so Jin-Woo decides to stick with his low-grade scrolls and keep grinding, even if the odds are totally against him. Determined to find that 1 in 800 million, Jin-Woo begins tearing through the scrolls, begging the god of luck to find him, while Ramba acts as his very own personal cheerleader. Unfortunately, after 2 long weeks of tearing through scrolls, both of them are completely exhausted and still haven't made any real progress toward their goal. They've opened 140,000 scrolls without finding a single X-grade summon. They even had to rent a room just to keep synthesizing their massive pile of summons. All Ramba can dream of at this point is eating cream bread, but Jin-Woo refuses to quit because he is done leeching off his hard-working parents. He wakes Ramba to go synthesize their mountain of trash, and trust me, you and I are about to see where this insane grind finally takes them as they head to the center. Alright, you and I are watching a world that has evolved fast. This hotel is now the synthesis center. Jin-Woo grabs his ticket while Ramba double-checks the sequence, making sure they do not mess up this crucial power-up. Finally, their number is called. Stepping inside, Ramba starts cheering like a maniac. She knows her own growth depends entirely on how well Jin-Woo executes the plan. Jin-Woo registers her and hits confirm. Instantly, a mountain of low-tier trash summons are sacrificed just to boost her base stats. Even if they are just fodder, each one costs cold, hard cash, and Jin-Woo is definitely feeling the burn in his wallet. The process finishes, bumping Ramba up to level 21. Her intelligence goes up by 2, hardly a massive leap. Jin-Woo is floored. He sacrificed 140,000 summons just for this? Level 21 feels like a total ripoff. Ramba does not care, though. She starts flexing her non-existent muscles, clearly fishing for a massive compliment. Jin-Woo hides his frustration and gives her the exact praise she is looking for. The cap is level 100, and at this rate, reaching the top is going to take a literal eternity. Later on, Jungkook is acting suspiciously friendly after putting together a specialized team just to manage Jin-Woo. Team member Byungjin cannot help but wonder why his boss is so hyped up, but Jungkook has massive expectations for our lead. He is ready to dump every resource he has into what he sees as a once-in-a-lifetime talent. He checks in for updates, and Byung-jin reports that Jin-Woo has just been burning through summoning scrolls non-stop. Jungkook is actually stunned that Jin-Woo is already back for another massive batch. Byung-jin adds that Jin-Woo wants to spend his entire 150 million won payout on nothing but low-grade scrolls. Apparently, he is looking for a serious hookup, asking for a price way below market value. Byung-jin warns that it might be impossible. Upper management is already giving them major grief for constantly pulling out too many scrolls at once. Jungkook is puzzled. Why is Jin-Woo dumping all his cash back into trash-tier scrolls when he is already making bank every single day? He figures there is a hidden genius to this plan. So, he makes a bold call, sell them to Jin-Woo at half price. Byung-jin is floored. He warns his boss that giving this kind of VIP treatment could lead to some serious administrative penalties. But Jungkook is not worried. He is convinced that Jin-Woo is on the path to becoming a true national hero. He is already daydreaming about the glory, imagining the entire country praising him for discovering such a legendary figure. Now pay attention, because this move is what changes everything. Jungkook officially commits and tells Byung-jin to follow his orders, no questions asked. But there is a catch: this deal has to stay strictly between them and the team. The squad consists of Jia and Taeyup. Meanwhile, Jin-Woo and Ramba are tearing through summoning scrolls like they are nothing but cheap scrap paper. Ramba is starting to lose it, complaining about how much longer they have to keep doing this. Jin-Woo tells her they only stop when they drop dead. Suddenly, Jia approaches. Ramba slams her mouth shut instantly so Jia does not find out she can actually speak. Jia introduces herself, explaining that she is here to discuss the situation regarding his request for more summoning scrolls. Jin-Woo cuts to the chase, asking if they have approved the discount yet. Instead of giving a straight answer, Jia starts playing games and beating around the bush. You and I both know what is happening here. She is just playing hard to get, so he realizes how much effort they have put into meeting his demands. Finally, Jia drops the big news: they have officially decided to offer the scrolls at half price. She announces it with massive flair, acting like she is handing him total salvation. Jin-Woo is genuinely shocked by the price cut, but Jia is not finished with the bombshells just yet. She adds that they are also handing over an extra 100 million won for his budget. Jin-Woo is speechless. Jia reminds him to keep this completely under wraps, explaining that these massive perks are all about building a solid relationship with him. He agrees to the secrecy, assuring her that he fully understands the kind of sacrifice they are making for him. As she walks away, Jin-Woo thinks about the insane level of support Jungkook has provided. He is determined to pay them back. To do that, he needs to pull an X-grade summon as soon as possible. But that is easier said than done. After hours of trying, they are still making absolutely zero progress. Ramba is exhausted and complaining, but Jin-Woo won't stop until he summons the Blast Dragon Mage and Hunkyo, the drill instructor. Ramba is sick of the sound of tearing paper, but Jin-Woo pushes forward. Giving up now would be a total waste of everything they have spent. After a few more duds, Jin-Woo starts literally praying to every deity in the universe for a win. Suddenly, it happens. As he rips another scroll, a blinding golden light crackles, the exact same light he saw when Ramba first appeared. You won't believe what appears. The low-grade scroll pops and boom. Jin-Woo finally lands the X-grade Blast Dragon Mage. You and I can finally see his hard work pay off. They start celebrating, but Jin-Woo stops. He realizes he is on a massive lucky streak and needs to keep pushing while he is hot. He tells Ramba they have to keep going. When the gacha is this good, you have to ride the wave to the very end. Ramba is totally lost, so Jin-Woo explains the concept of being on a roll. Determined to win, he tears another scroll open with confidence. Just like he hoped, he actually pulls Hunkyo, the legendary drill instructor. It is another X-grade summon that Jin-Woo has been praying for. Ramba is stunned and starts to believe this hot streak thing is actually real. Watching his two elite summons appear, Jin-Woo nearly breaks down. All that insane grinding is finally starting to pay off for him. Right away, Hunkyo is summoned. After being in quarantine for so long, the instructor asks where the heck he is. Hunkyo was originally just a weak E-grade summon with terrible combat stats. But Jin-Woo knows his true value is his obsession with training. His growth skills force others to level up, and his charisma is enough to completely overwhelm every other summon on the team. Even though these skills are nothing on their own, the big thing is that Hunkyo never gets tired of the grind. If he gets the instructor skill, he can unlock the hidden potential of other summons and skyrocket their growth rate to insane levels. Now, pay attention here. This is exactly why Jin-Woo was a top-tier legend back in the day. This guy makes everyone stronger. While Jin-Woo is hyped to power up his squad, Ramba is terrified. She definitely does not want to be trained into some macho fairy. The moment Jin-Woo greets him, Hunkyo recognizes him as Ginugod. He remembers the master who gave him his very name long ago. Once he confirms this is his old master, Hunkyo bows low. He never expected they would reunite after being locked in quarantine for so long. Jin-Woo looks on like a proud father. His 2-star prodigies are exactly how he raised them to be absolutely perfect. Blast Dragon asks if he is truly Ginugod. Jin-Woo is surprised because this is actually the first time he has ever heard her voice. See, Blast Dragon is a D-grade mage of human origin who was actually a total dropout at the Magic Academy. But deep inside her heart, an ancient Blast Dragon is sleeping. That makes her a nuclear-level threat when it comes to fire damage. Her main move is the Blast Dragon Wave, but when Hunkyo awakens her, she gains a broken skill called Predation. This Predation skill is insane because it permanently buffs her damage every single time she takes down a boss-level enemy. Since only Hunkyo can unlock that hidden potential, Jin-Woo was the only player in the world who could use her correctly. Blast Dragon is over the moon. She finally realizes her master, the great Ginugod, is actually standing right there in front of her. She tells him how much she missed him. I think you and I both know those suspicious reasons are all about that sweet, sweet power creep he has been waiting for. Jin-Woo warns them they can only talk when no one is around, and they must never call him Ginugod in public. They both agree. Since night has fallen, Jin-Woo decides it is time to head home and get some well-earned rest. He passes out the second he hits the bed. While he is snoring, his summons decide to have a little late-night meeting. Since Hunkyo and Blast Dragon go way back, they catch up first. Afterward, the dragon tries to get familiar with Ramba. Ramba greets Hunkyo and reminds him they were teammates once, even if it was only for a month before they were separated. She even tries to act like the boss, since she was already active when Hunkyo was first recruited to the team. But Hunkyo is not having it. With a terrifying glare, he tells her that her seniority is trash because she is way too weak. Ramba and Blast Dragon are literally shaking under his gaze. He clenches his fist, declaring they must get in shape to be useful. Hunkyo announces that the grind never stops. They are going to keep training the whole time Jin-Woo is sleeping. He orders Blast Dragon to start meditating on her mana right now, and promises to awaken her predation skill later on. She nods like a loyal soldier. But when Hunkyo turns toward Ramba, the poor fairy is cowering in the corner, scared to death. Hunkyo tells her she needs to work on her raw strength with him to build up her pathetic swing speed. Ramba protests, arguing that a fairy should not be a muscle-bound freak. But Hunkyo just fires back with a cold question. He asks if she really wants to be useless to Jin-Woo. She tries to explain, but he just hands her a heavy frying pan. When he demands 5,000 swings, Ramba looks like she is about to have a total mental breakdown. She screams for Jin-Woo, but Hunkyo drags her away like a bag of trash, while our hero snores away peacefully. At headquarters, Jia tells Chongshok some bad news. They can no longer access low-grade scrolls due to a notice from the director. Chongshok is floored. He cannot believe the director is actually paying attention to such a minor, low-level issue. The director is even demanding a full report on every scroll used. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see this unfold. Alright, let's jump into a story where politics meets dungeon chaos. Chongguk suspects his rival Hisu is pulling strings. It's annoying because Hisu has been a constant thorn in his side lately. Jia delivers bad news. The reports are ready, but they have 0 gifts for Jin-Woo. Chongguk starts to spiral because he's running out of time to deliver those scrolls. But suddenly, his face lights up. He just got a direct message from Jin-Woo. He tells Jia they don't need the scrolls anymore since Jin-Woo is already satisfied. Now, it's time for Chongguk to settle the score with his rival, Hisu. Meanwhile, Jin-Woo heads out to the mountains to track down a standard dungeon. Basically, there are 4 main types in this world: Tower of Trials, normal dungeons, daily dungeons, and the Chaos Dragon raids. The daily dungeon is where players go to farm basic materials, while the Tower of Trials is incredibly brutal, designed to push every player to their limit. Rewards there are massive, but the mortality rate is just as high. Then there's the Chaos Dragon, a massive raid where parties team up together to challenge it. The last type is the normal dungeon. That's exactly what Jin-Woo is entering today. People call them stage dungeons, and in reality, they just appear at random. Players usually clear them by forming a party, but Jin-Woo doesn't need help because he's an OG player. A few minutes later, he arrives at the entrance. If a dungeon is left alone for too long, a dungeon break happens where monsters flood out into the world. So, Jin-Woo is determined to wrap this one up quickly. Security checks his license and tells him to enter. After verifying everything, the guard watches him go while warning him to stay sharp in there. Now watch this. The second he steps inside, the sound of clashing steel confirms it's a subjugation mission. He watches as a massive armored army struggles to keep a horde of orcs from breaking through. The whole scene feels incredibly real to Jin-Woo since he's only ever seen this in the game. Orcs start tearing through the ranks, injuring soldiers who begin screaming for a healer in total panic. Realizing this is a literal war, Jin-Woo gets his head in the game to do what he does best. He activates a shield and summons his entire team, telling them it's time for battle. Beside Ramba and Hun-Gyo, he also brings out a D-grade Golden Fairy and Minikong, who he got by sacrificing his gorilla. He knows the Golden Fairy is the best D-grade healer, while Minikong is the ultimate tank. He orders Ramba to give Hun-Gyo an attack speed buff, and tells Blast Dragon to provide cover fire from the back. Then, he sends Mini Kong straight for the orc leader. Once that giant at the very back falls, this entire battle will be over. That's what makes these orc subjugation dungeons actually pretty simple. Mini Kong follows orders perfectly. The moment he lands, the giant orc swings a massive blow, but Kong blocks it effortlessly. Meanwhile, Ramba's speed buff kicks in. Hungyo becomes a total blur, shredding through a bunch of orcs in a split second. You and I saw that, right? Jin-Woo is stunned because Hungyo is moving way faster than he ever did in the game. Maybe it's that X-grade tag. Either way, Jin-Woo is satisfied because Hungyo is performing way beyond his expectations. This means clearing the dungeon might be even easier than he first thought. While the other summons carry out their orders, the Golden Fairy provides constant healing to Mini Kong while he brawls with the orc leader. The soldiers are relieved. They finally have a fighting chance now that a powerful ally has joined the fray. But then there's Ramba. As usual, she's just messing around on the battlefield, dodging weapons and playing games while everyone else is working. Jin-Woo notices the slacking and barks at her to stop clowning around immediately. Ramba apologizes fast, while Hungyo crushes an orc for throwing an axe at Jin-Woo. Meanwhile, Blast Dragon begins her incantation as she prepares her flames. She activates the Blast Dragon wave, and a massive flame erupts, instantly cooking those orcs medium rare. The giant orc leader can only watch as his army burns to a crisp, and in that exact moment, he realizes he's in way deeper than he can handle. But before he can do a thing, Hungyo flashes in and sends his head flying with a single strike, officially clearing the dungeon. As they celebrate their first victory, Blast Dragon hits level 5 and her intelligence stats go up. Hungyo hits the same level too. Jin-Woo is even rewarded with an intermediate summoning scroll worth 500,000 won. And trust me, for Jin-Woo, making that much money in 2 minutes is just child's play. Alright, you and I are about to see Jin-Woo dive straight back into the grind. While Ramba celebrates the team leveling up, Jin-Woo realizes how easy it is to make bank doing what he does best. He is ready to turn his life around with a non-stop grind. Meanwhile, back at the headquarters, Jungkook is busy regretting every single life choice that led to his current disaster. Jia tears into him for making a brainless bet, wondering where he even got the confidence to suggest something so crazy. Jungkook tries to defend himself, claiming that Heezu started it, and he just could not back down. He had walked into that meeting ready to settle the score with Heezu, only to get absolutely shut down before he could start. That smug jerk accused Jungkook of burning through cash without discovering a single piece of real talent. To make it worse, none of Jungkook's recruits have ever made the national team. The insult stung, but he did not have a comeback. Heezu kept going, mocking him for acting like a big shot just because they broke one record in a Tuesday dungeon. Jungkook was dying to fire back with a witty response, but he could not. Heezu's recruits actually make the national team every single year. He might be an arrogant brat, but the man has the skills to back it up. Still, Jungkook was officially done being treated like absolute garbage. Stick with me here, because this is where he makes a massive gamble and proposes a crazy bet on a new recruit. With only 10 spots on the national team, Heezu suggests a bet on whose recruit can climb to a higher rank. Jungkook agrees, but there is a catch. The loser has to publicly admit they are inferior and then quit forever. Caught up in the moment, he even forced Heezu to sign a contract. But now that he is thinking clearly, he knows he is in deep trouble. Jia asks if he actually made this crazy bet because of Jin-Woo. Sure, Jin-Woo is impressive for a gamer, but to her, he is still an amateur. Compared to pro players, she thinks he is basically trash. Jungkook hears her out, but he is convinced that Jin-Woo is the real deal. He just needs the right support to explode. Plus, if they invest in him now, Jin-Woo could provide them with some seriously valuable high-level info. Jia is not buying it, thinking he is overhyping the kid. Suddenly, Tae-seop bursts into the room screaming, scaring the life out of them. Jungkook had him tracking a mysterious player who was speedrunning dozens of dungeons, and he finally had the results. To their absolute shock, Tae-seop reveals that the monster player they have been looking for is actually Jin-Woo. You and I both saw Jia doubting him, but watch how fast she flips. She is an instant believer. How does someone registered for only a month clear D-grade dungeons in under 5 minutes? Jungkook's face lights up as his massive gamble finally starts to pay off. He rubs it in Jia's face, reminding her that he was right all along. Jin-Woo was the perfect talent to bet everything on. Back home, Jin-Woo is vibrating with joy as he checks a bank account with more zeros than he has ever seen. He made 16 million won in just 4 days. In that window, Jin-Woo and his crew blasted through 160 D-grade dungeons. This fat stack of cash came from selling all those intermediate summoning scrolls they looted. Jin-Woo is celebrating his hard work finally paying off. Even though Ramba and the team did most of the actual sweating, he feels like this world was built for him. All those years spent gaming? Yeah, they are finally paying off big time. He decides it is time to split the loot into a few different accounts. One for the team's bills, one for his family's future, and a third savings account just for himself. He plans to drop 10 million won in there every month just for fun. He cannot believe he went from being broke to pulling in 10 million monthly. He also sets aside a separate pile of cash, specifically to upgrade his summons. Money is great, but Jin-Woo knows that his true value as a top-tier player is what really matters right now. It is time to gear up his summons with runes and buffs since they all hit level 30 during their dungeon marathon, and the most efficient way to do that is by farming daily dungeons. Jin-Woo knows he is going to need some core summons to speed things up. He checks the player marketplace for core summons, but the insane prices almost make him pass out right there on the spot. Even basic C-grade summons are overpriced, and the B-grades cost at least 200 million won. That is just absolute robbery. He also notices there are 0 A-grade or S-grade summons for sale anywhere in the entire marketplace. It is only a 1% chance. Since he cannot buy power, trust me, you and I are going to want to see this. Back at headquarters right now. Alright, you and I are diving back in as Byung-jin rushes into the office with a wild request from Jin-Woo. At first, Chong-suk is hyped to help his star prodigy, but his excitement vanishes the moment Byung-jin shows him that insane list. Chong-suk is absolutely floored. Jin-Woo is asking for an insane number of summons, costing the company well over 1 billion won. He literally can't believe it, asking Byung-jin to double-check if his eyes are playing tricks on him. The headquarters doesn't even give its top executives that kind of money, so he's completely baffled by the request. Even Changuk is stuck using basic C-grade summons. He demands to know what Jin-Woo is offering in exchange for this haul. Byung-jin reveals the trade, the secret strategy to pull off a speed run in every single daily dungeon. Changuk realizes this is a huge deal. Jin-Woo isn't just offering one tip, he's handing over the whole playbook. Despite the price tag, he thinks it's worth it and vows to go convince the director himself. Too bad his confidence doesn't mean much, because the director shuts that proposal down in record time. Fueled by pure frustration, Changuk finally snaps. He rants about how their country always fails because no one takes risks. Tae-gup is lost, so Jia fills him in. Honestly, Jia isn't shocked. Jin-Woo's list was pretty over the top, even for a talent like him. Still, she kind of wishes more people had Changuk's fire and passion. Tae-gup asks about the director's response. Changuk explains they need cold, hard proof that Jin-Woo can actually clear those dungeons. Now pay attention, because here is the catch, Jin-Woo needs those high-level summons just to make his plan work. Jia knows it would be a total jackpot if Jin-Woo's speedrun info is the real deal. Chong-suk agrees, but he thinks the big bosses upstairs are too thick-headed to see Jin-Woo's true potential. Jia points out that the cost is actually a bargain compared to the value Jin-Woo is bringing to the table. Chong-suk thinks she's crazy, since 1 billion won is serious money. But then, Jia offers to pay for it herself. That's when it clicks for Chong-suk. Jia's family background is far from ordinary, she's elite. Turns out, Jia is the 4th granddaughter of the Daewon Group, the #1 conglomerate in South Korea. She was born into total luxury, but she ditched the corporate life because she's fascinated by players. And right now, Jin-Woo is her #1 obsession because he knows way too much for a rookie. The way he can just sit there and boldly negotiate with the government, that's what really stands out to her. This is exactly why she decides to start a private talent agency just for Jin-Woo. She wants to invest in him and cash in on all the high-level information he's providing. This new agency would be totally independent, with a completely fresh approach to the business. When Changuk asks if she's really ready to drop that kind of cash, Jia just looks puzzled. She reminds him her bank account isn't an issue. You and I both know questioning a Chaebol heir's wealth is just a bad move. Money means nothing to her, but she still wants to meet Jin-Woo in person before signing the check. The next day, Jia sets up a meeting at an incredibly high-end, fancy restaurant. Jin-Woo gets the 5-star treatment the moment he steps inside, feeling like he's finally getting the royal treatment. He was actually surprised when Jia messaged him so quickly about the answer to his massive request. He didn't think they'd jump so quickly on what he considered to be a pretty basic trade. Still, he knows Jia is a tough negotiator. But hey, at least he gets to eat at a place fancier than a hotel. The royal treatment almost makes him feel like he doesn't belong in a place this rich. But it also puts him in a good mood, generous enough to maybe share even more secrets. The second Jin-Woo comes face-to-face with Jia again, he's feeling the pressure. After researching her, he realized she's basically perfect in every single way. She was a top student, but he never expected a 3rd-generation heir to be working a simple desk job. Jia thanks him for coming, but Jin-Woo is thrown off that she showed up without any backup. She makes it clear today, his business is with her, not the headquarters. As they sit down to eat, she drops the bomb. The headquarters isn't going to provide any more support. And that's where we leave it. You and I will have to wait and see if he falls for her smooth talk. Alright, you and I are about to see how Jin-Woo handles a rejection like an absolute professional and a total champ. Jin-Woo knows he has nothing to lose since he can easily climb the rankings all by himself anyway. However, for them, it is a different story because he will stop giving them any information. But to his surprise, Jia presents him with another opportunity. She tells him that she plans to establish a talent agency, dedicated entirely to him. Jin-Woo briefly considers the proposal because a profit-focused corporation like Dasong beats a headquarters full of annoying red tape. Jin-Woo notes that he can definitely bring them that profit while they provide exactly what he needs to succeed. And what Jin-Woo needs is someone to buy his information at the highest value, while providing an endless supply of resources. Sensing his hesitation, Jia lists out every single benefit of working with her and her team. She assures him that the Dasong Group will provide professional care and as much support as he needs with no cap. Jin-Woo is shocked to hear this, but convinced that working with Jia is the best call because money never lies. Jin-Woo begins buttering her up with heavy praises while Jia practically licks up every compliment. Since it seems they are finally on the same page, she decides to explain the details of her proposal and promises to visit him the following day to officially close the deal. Now watch this. Jia tells him to check his summons even though they have not even signed a formal contract yet. However, Jia says she is already prepared whether he signs or not and tells him to consider it as a gift. Jin-Woo is amazed at how easy it is for a billionaire heir to give out a gift worth over $1 billion without blinking. The next day, Ajin tracks down Jin-Woo because he has not been in contact for a long while. She heard he got a separate place and wonders what he is up to. Just then, Jia walks past, leaving Ajin completely mesmerized. Upon closer inspection, she realizes that Jia looks like someone she has seen all over social media. Ajin brain buffers for a moment while trying to remember that face. Then her jaw drops as she finally realizes Jia's identity. At the same time, Jin-Woo exercises while Hungo drills the summons, determined to turn them into the dream team. Suddenly, he hears someone approaching and quietly informs the others to stop talking and stay hidden. Jia soon arrives and everyone takes a break. She notes Jin-Woo has been training since morning and sees his summons standing there like the usual mute ones. However, she also notes that she has never seen some of these summons anywhere before. Jin-Woo tells her they are his main team and claims he will introduce them later, then hurriedly signals for them to continue training elsewhere. After they leave, Jia gives Jin-Woo the gift she promised, which he receives in the form of a trade. Jin-Woo recalls that the trade works the same as in the game, which also supports trading between players. I know what you are thinking, but in this game, players can buy or negotiate prices easily for any item they want. However, the system actually hunts and curses to death any player who tries to scam another player. Jin-Woo checks the summons provided by Jia and is surprised that she was able to find everything on his list. He immediately accepts the trade and thanks Jia for the valuable gift, which she claims is nothing to her. Next, she presents the contract to Jin-Woo, asking if they can discuss the specific terms of their deal. Jia then tells him the agency name is Baek, a mix of their surnames. She offers him 70% of the shares, takes 25% for herself, and leaves 5% for Chongguk. She informs him that Chongguk will stay at headquarters to support them while Taseo and Byungjin are recruited to the new agency. Jin-Woo wonders how that will work since Taseo and Byungjin already work at the main headquarters. But Jia tells him that they already resigned happily after she offered them triple their previous salary. Still, Jin-Woo hesitates to accept because having 70% of the shares feels unfair to Jia, but she assures him she is certain since she plans to maximize her own 25%. Besides, she is not worried about voting rights because it is basically a one-man company. Jia gave him that many shares because she wants to build a relationship, which is the most important thing in business. Jin-Woo finally agrees to her terms and signs the contract, making her very happy. Both of them seal the deal to create magic together, but suddenly, Hungo jumps into the bushes when he senses movement. A few seconds later, he emerges, pulling Ajin and her shadow by the legs like meat for the slaughter. Jin-Woo is stunned to see his sister and immediately questions what she is doing hiding behind the bushes. But Ajin is still trying to recover from the stealth capture, while Jin-Woo questions her to find out why she was lurking. It turns out she is a huge fan of Jia, and trust me, you and I have all been in that position before. You and I are diving back into the madness as Ajin tries to explain she isn't some creepy fan, but Jin-Woo isn't buying it. He calls her out for total stalker behavior. He demands to know why she was lurking in the shadows instead of just saying hello. Since Ajin won't talk, he decides to play dirty and hits her with a truth status effect to force it out. She can't hold out. Ajin finally breaks, confessing she was spying to dig up his secrets before eagerly pouncing on him to ask how her brother even knows a VIP like Jia. She machine guns 1,000 questions his way, barely giving poor Jin-Woo a single second to catch his breath. Jia had actually greeted Ajin before leaving, making the girl feel like her entire life's goals were finally met. Jia couldn't stay long, but she mentioned meeting his family soon since their contract allows them to know the details. Ajin keeps pestering him, desperate to know what his business with Jia was. She even turns on the waterworks for drama, so Jin-Woo finally folds and reveals everything, including the fact that he was once a famous gamer. He tells her about his record-breaking dungeon runs and how he eventually met Jia at the main headquarters. Ajin remembers he was addicted to a game and asks if it was Battle of the Summoners. Jin-Woo immediately shuts that down, lying through his teeth that it was a different game. He claims he only played Battle of the Summoners for a year, desperate to hide his identity as the legendary Ginugod. Ajin is shocked he could even stand playing that trash-tier game for a whole entire year. She gives him a proud nudge, joking that his gaming obsession actually paid off for once. He wants to tell her the whole truth, but he's terrified that knowing too much will put her in danger. His family sacrificed everything during those 3 years he was in a coma, so Jin-Woo refuses to drag them into any more dangerous situations. Protecting them is his absolute top priority, even if it means staying hidden while he grinds to get even stronger. Ajin asks why he's only coming clean now, and he promises he always planned to tell her eventually. He tells her to keep this a secret from their parents until he can explain it properly himself. Suddenly, Jin-Woo notices Ajin's summon buzzing around like a pest while the others try to stay quiet. Hunko tries to swat it, and Jin-Woo asks why the dark elf is acting so weirdly. He tells her to pair it with a shadow wolf, because without one, that dark elf is basically brainless. Ajin is stunned, because she has never even heard of a summon called a shadow wolf. He explains it's a B-grade summon, and Ajin wonders how on earth she's supposed to find something that rare. Now, watch this. She checks the marketplace and nearly gags when she sees the insane price tag. Ajin asks how he expects her to find 500 million won, since that would take her about 20 years to earn. Jin-Woo doesn't even blink, promising her he will help her get it within a single month. Ajin just bursts out laughing, telling him to stop acting so big and tone down the bragging. She smugly tells him not to act so cool just because he was a gamer before awakening, insisting she will save up for the Shadow Wolf herself. But Jin-Woo sticks to his word, telling her not to choke when he actually delivers the goods. He heads out with his summons before Ajin can say another word, and as she watches her brother boldly walk away, she realizes something about him has completely changed. She can't quite put her finger on it, but she looks at her shadow elf. The summon that used to look so intimidating now feels like a measly mosquito in her eyes. One thing is absolutely certain: her brother has become a whole new person. Fast forward 1 week, and Jin-Woo's new team is getting him ready for another dungeon. Pay attention here, because Jia hands him a new vest he has to wear for every single daily run. She explains their main product is information, so they will be selling these clear videos for a massive profit. The high-tech vest comes with a built-in camera that records every second of the action in high definition. Jia reassures him the vest is light and won't slow him down during the mission. As they help him get the vest on, their overly friendly smiles make Jin-Woo feel more nervous than entering the actual dungeon. Ready to go, Jin-Woo lets Jia know that this is his very first time tackling a Monday dungeon. He asks if it's okay if the run gets messy, but Jia says they'll just edit it into a highlight reel. Before heading in, he calmly asks if she is okay with him shattering the national record. And that's where we leave it, trust me. You and I are just as confused as Jia since he just said the run might get messy. She can't tell if he's kidding or just feeling the heat from her massive investment. Either way, she tells him to just relax and go at his own speed without stressing. Alright, you and I are about to watch Jin-Woo walk in and try to smash a 7-minute national record. Monday's dungeon is the only spot for attack runes, where your clearing time determines your whole rank. These attack runes are a must-have for progression in Battle of the Summoners, earning them the name All-Purpose Runes. Our main character sees it's a defense map where he has to survive 30 minutes of undead waves. But since ranking is about speed, top players skip the wait by hunting down the final boss, the Lich. Because of that, rushing the boss has become the standard play for everyone. Jin-Woo double-checks all of his gear before finally selecting his squad. He has got his summons split into specialized 3-man teams for different tactical scenarios. He locks in Team B, featuring the X-grade Hungo and the Combat Sheriff. Along with them are C-grades Minong and the Priest of Radiance, plus the D-grade Golden Fairy. The system alerts him that the Undead Legion is swarming. His goal? Hold the line until reinforcements arrive. As the 30-minute clock starts ticking, his team goes on a rampage with Minong leading the charge. Now pay attention here, because after Minikong clears the first wave, Jin-Woo immediately moves his entire squad to high ground for a major tactical advantage. Hungu agrees instantly, proving he's smart enough to know Jin-Woo is recording this whole legendary run. An intense brawl breaks out, but the team fights their way to the summit in just 2 minutes. Hungo is slicing through undead like butter, while Minong just crushes everything with raw, brute strength. Seeing them work, Jin-Woo is just glad these monsters are on his side. He signals the Combat Sheriff to get ready for the main event. See, the Combat Sheriff is a beast at long-range fighting. Regular players usually ignore him because his damage output is low, but Jin-Woo knows the boss doesn't actually have that much health. He tells the Sheriff to hold fire while ordering Radiant to cast her blessing skill first. That blessing is the key. It completely strips away the Lich's ranged immunity, known as the Dark Shield. Once the shield drops, Jin-Woo gives the signal for the Sheriff to finally open fire. Meanwhile, Minikong is shredding through the horde, and whenever things get tight, Radiant backs him up. The Sheriff fires shot after shot, but the monster just tanks them. Jin-Woo isn't shocked, though he expected this. Even so, the boss's health bar is slowly but surely dropping with every single hit. Now, you might think this looks slow, but trust me, Jin-Woo is making a strategy everyone else avoids look absolutely effortless. A rogue undead lunges at Jin-Woo to knock him back, but his trusty instructor is there to cut it down instantly. By stacking the right skills with a perfect plan, he and his summons finally bring the boss down. He clears the whole thing in 4 minutes flat, absolutely crushing the national record in the process. Back outside, Gia and her team are watching. She isn't expecting a miracle, considering they only gave him these summons a week ago. Regardless of the outcome, she promises the team that they'll have Jin-Woo's back no matter what. Byung-jin asks if she truly believes their main character can break every single daily dungeon record. Gia is stunned by the question. Byung-jin admits that breaking Tuesday's record was already impressive enough. Still, he's worried because the kid hasn't explained his plan for the other days. As he keeps rambling on, Gia can sense that everyone is getting nervous. Gia reminds them that she funded this whole business herself. If their worst fears actually end up coming true, she guarantees that their careers won't suffer, simply because they had the guts to trust and follow her lead. Their paychecks stay the same. In that moment, she literally looks like an angel sent straight from heaven. The two employees hug it out, realizing they're working at the best place on the planet. Deep down, Gia isn't sweating it. She has got the cash, and she is certain Jin-Woo is hiding something huge. She could tell there was more to him just by how relaxed he looked stepping into that dungeon. It was like the dungeon was nothing to him. Right then, a report flashes and the record is broken. When they ask which record fell, the official reveals it was the one for the Monday dungeon. A new record of 4 minutes flat, 3 minutes faster than before. The whole place goes into a total frenzy. When they realize it was Jin-Woo, they're left speechless. Trust me, you're gonna want to see what's next. Alright, you and I are about to see Gia realize she just hit the absolute jackpot. She is all smiles, knowing this new business venture is going to be a massive hit. Back in the dungeon, Jin-Woo clicks off the recorder because he has other plans. He is ready to set up an auto battle for his current squad. In this game, clearing a daily dungeon unlocks the auto battle feature. As long as his summons keep looping, the rewards just stack up automatically. Jin-Woo swaps out Hunkyo for Ramba, putting her in charge of the grind. Ramba is shocked he is picking her over the drill instructor, but Jin-Woo explains the instructor has other students to train. He even offers her a spot in the training session, but once she remembers the absolute nightmare of those training sessions, she gladly takes the Monday grind instead. He plans to stack rewards through auto-hunting, while his other summons focus on training. Jin-Woo calls this the zero-waste routine. Stepping out, he tells Ramba he is leaving it all to her, and she is more than happy to help. Jin-Woo emerges to a royal welcome. Gia is absolutely ecstatic, telling him she knew she could always count on his skills. He just gives a nervous laugh and hands over the vest with the footage. He asks if she needs anything else, but she is good. She promises the video won't leak, so he does not have to worry about the media. But pay attention here. He tells her he actually does not care if the recording goes public. The only thing he truly wants is Gia's word that his family will be kept safe. With gangs roaming everywhere, Jin-Woo knows the company's high-level security is the only way to keep them safe. Gia promises to use every bit of her influence to ensure his family is never touched. Come Tuesday's dungeon, Jin-Woo smashes his old record by using his summons with perfect precision. Wednesday's dungeon is set in a frozen wasteland. The second Jin-Woo enters, he is already shivering from the cold. He immediately calls out his C-rank Frostcat and B-rank Wind Falcon. Then he brings out the B-rank Titanium Golem and a C-rank Horned Fairy to back them up. He finishes the squad by summoning the Draconic Mage. In a place like this, he needs cold resistance, and the Frostcat is the best pick for the job. Their enemies show up pretty fast, and it is a mob of very angry snowmen. Jin-Woo sends the Golem into the fray while the Falcon provides a massive speed buff. The team hops onto the Golem as it charges through the snow. It is moving so fast that Jin-Woo almost passes out from the sheer speed, but he is hanging on, because no clear means no rewards. Suddenly, the snowmen start launching giant ice projectiles at them. The Golem tanks the hits like a pro, but Jin-Woo needs it for more than just its heavy defense. You and I both know he is planning something crazy. Watch this pathing. The Golem scales a cliff, and as they prepare to leap, he tells the Blast Dragon to get ready. At the peak, the boss finally appears, and Jin-Woo orders the Horned Fairy to start the show. She sprays a huge cloud of flammable gas that the dragon ignites. The whole place turns into an oven, roasting the boss alive. Jin-Woo celebrates his win. He cleared the entire thing in just 4 minutes. But the celebration ends fast when he collapses from a massive case of motion sickness. Soon, news of his exploits starts spreading, and everyone is asking who this guy is. People are finally paying attention because it is clear that his performance is definitely not a fluke. Major media outlets are putting him on the front page, all asking the same big question. Pro players are getting curious too. This normal-looking dude is smashing the records set by the world's very best hunters. As Thursday's dungeon approaches, the world is watching to see if he finally hits a wall. When the board director hears the news, he checks with his assistant and realizes this is the same guy Chonggok pitched to them earlier. They recall he wanted summons in exchange for his secret information, but they turned him down flat. Now, the director realizes Jin-Woo is the real deal, and sighs in pure frustration. He regrets not bringing Jin-Woo in when he had the chance, because in this world, results are the only thing that matter. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, they are going to regret making that mistake forever. Alright, you and I are about to see what happens when the directors realize they lost their golden goose. The director orders his secretary to track down Jin-Woo and bring him in, no matter the cost. Looking at the daily dungeon rewards, Monday and Wednesday give runes, while Tuesday is for farming abrasives. Thursday is for skill books. This is the dungeon Jin-Woo is targeting today. Even if the skill books don't have unique skills, they are still a huge power boost worth farming. On top of that, it means he can skip the Sunday dungeon entirely since it drops the exact same skill books. Thursday is much easier, so Sunday becomes a rest day. But first, the boss appears, and it turns out this dungeon is actually a boss rush. The second you step inside, you meet a boss with insane defense. The standard play is using the White Wolf to shred its armor through constant attacks. But Jin-Woo isn't interested in that. He wants to brute force it with massive damage. He knows he can't sell this footage as a guide though, since his summons are totally maxed. Watch closely, because Jin-Woo is showing us a masterclass in dungeon tactics. Even without his overpowered summons, he knows the golem has one huge weakness. The dirt golem has one main weakness, its head. Jin-Woo orders a full-scale barrage, and his summons absolutely unload on the monster's skull with everything they have. The pressure is so intense that the golem's head shatters in no time, and the boss is defeated. 5 minutes flat. He actually managed to shave a whole minute off the record. Huno is a beast, but his real trump card is the Blast Dragon for 1 second clears. Just like always, he tells his squad to run it again. When he finally steps out, 2 high-ranking officials from headquarters are already waiting for him. He wonders why they are bothering him now that he is done with that life. They claim they looked over his proposal again and finally recognize his potential. But before they can finish, Jin-Woo shuts them down. He doesn't need them when Jia is giving him everything he wants. Headquarters would just waste time, checking every single tiny detail of the contract. You and I can probably guess how they felt when he told them he signed with a rival company. And if they have anything to say, they can go through Jia at AWAKENS. As he walks away, the 2 officials are left scratching their heads over what AWAKENS even is. One realizes they need to investigate fast, while the other knows they just lost a massive star. But listen, Friday is different. It is not about killing monsters. It is a physical race to the finish. To get ready, Jin-Woo heads to the coast. He summons a wyvern and takes to the skies. From up there, the view of the East Sea is incredible. He is grinning like a kid while mastering the flight controls. Even his summons are impressed, admitting they struggled on their own first rides. It turns out these guys were riding dolphins and wyverns back in the game days. After the praise session, it is finally time for some dolphin riding practice. He tells his summons he is counting on them because of their experience. Huno and the Blast Dragon promise they have got his back. A few days later, he enters the Friday dungeon to claim the God of Time title. He calls out the Wind Falcon for a massive speed buff. The timer hits 0 and Jin-Woo explodes down the track. He has to weave through incoming projectiles at high speed. Doing this for real is way more intense than just tapping a phone screen. Stick around, because you and I are about to see exactly where this hidden path leads. You and I are about to see Jin-Woo pull a pro move. Instead of running over the water, he summons a dolphin to dive deep, effortlessly dodging every single obstacle above. Suddenly, the dolphin lunges into the air, and his wyvern takes over the lead. Now watch this, Jin-Woo soars above everything else on his wyvern. Before the crowd can even react, he is already crossing the finish line. Jin-Woo cleared the dungeon in a shocking 2 minutes. With this, he crushed the previous national record. Absolutely wild, right?